Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I still don't have Wi-Fi, so here we are again. I'm doing some crochet. I basically bought the yarn that was like similar to this yarn, where I made like a green, you can't see with the shadows, but green and purple and blue. I went to the same secondhand boutique, and somehow somebody had left the bag of yarn that is in the same family, in the same kind of yarn, just slightly different earthy colors. So I'm thinking that if I make 2 of these, then I can put it together and make pillowcase. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing with crochet. I found out that my Wi-Fi can't come up at all, and so next week some specialists are going to be calling me, and maybe they will send me a new Wi-Fi router, or they will tell me what to do, or they will have somebody come by. But if somebody comes by, there is a risk that I will have to pay $150 if they find out that it's not their personal problem, like it's not the router's fault. And that's a pretty big stress on me. $150 is quite a lot of money. But yeah, I'm trying to not think of like the worst case scenario. Because in that case, I want to change, I'm not going to pay $150 for a company to basically not work. They did say that they would compensate for the amount of days which I have been without Wi-Fi. Because now it's been a week, but half of it was my fault because I picked the wrong activation date to the 6th instead of the 1st. Anyway, I probably won't get internet until at least the 14th. So there goes half of the month, and I am addicted to the internet. So I don't know what to do with my life. Also, like, when I say that I'm addicted to the internet, it's because my life is built around the internet. I'm kind of a zillennial, maybe not Gen Z, or maybe not exactly a millennial. I'm a zillennial. I grew up in a time where there was less internet, but it was still present. So I didn't grow up online as like a child, but I grew up online as a teenager. And I don't own a TV. I think that a lot of people who are young don't own a TV because, or if they own a TV, then it's basically to, like, they'll watch YouTube videos on their TV. They won't be watching like the regular channels. Of course, I'm talking for myself here. There are other people who definitely use a TV, but I don't have a TV. I don't own one. Because I do everything on YouTube. Also, I don't have a radio. So that means that I can't have like background noise. And the background noises I use, you need to be online for. So either I use rainymood.com, I used to use this app called Endel, but you need a subscription for that, which is actually quite expensive for just like a background noise. I have used rainymood.com. I told you that already. mynoise.com. And you need to be online unless you buy a subscription. And if you buy a subscription, then you will be able to download like the MP3 sound of it, but you need the internet for that. So it's hard for me to sleep without having done something that has to do with sound. In this apartment, there are a lot of people who, well, it's not their fault. It's basically that the walls are not isolated enough, and I can hear the water running through the walls whenever somebody turns on their tap. The tap water, it just sounds like it's rushing throughout the whole apartment, and I hate it. And unfortunately, it seems like there's some neighbor that uses a lot of water at around 11 p.m., 12 p.m., right when it's time for me to go to sleep. So, yeah, I feel like I'm about to tear apart. And I realized that this move has made me feel way more autistic than I maybe ever was. So that really sucks. So instead, because of my autism, ADHD, I have this hyperfocus, and one of these special interest hyperfocus things is making videos. And so making videos is like, I'm obsessed. I just make videos, and it makes me feel much better once I've made a video. So I don't know, it's quite therapeutic. But I guess it's also because it's kind of like talking about, like info dumping about a special interest. Neurodivergent people do that. And that's kind of what I'm doing on this channel all the time. So I have an explanation of why it's like this, but I feel like I'm addicted to the internet. And I'm also addicted to sharing about weird stuff on the internet. And I don't know how great that is, but here we go. And there is a reason why autistic people have this, but it's a little bit coupled to OCD in that you have these obsessions. You might not have the compulsions. There are sometimes the repetitive behaviors, but they're not coupled to obsessions. But, I watched a YouTube video back when I had Wi-Fi about OCD. And, well, I don't have OCD. I can relate to the obsession component. And it's often like an obsession over the fact that, like, oh, I'm not good enough. What if I am morally corrupt, that kind of thing. But it doesn't really affect much of my life. So I don't have OCD. I think that my dad might have certain kinds of OCD tendencies. When the pandemic came, he had this huge thing about, contamination. I've never had that. I was a little bit more paranoid during COVID about like people coughing in public transport and all that kind of thing. But I'm glad I didn't have it as bad as like my parents. So I don't have OCD, but I might have hereditary traits about that. Hoarding is a kind of OCD, because it's like you can't really stop yourself. And it's kind of like if you don't keep accumulating that stuff, if you get rid of stuff, then something terrible is going to happen, and then you won't have this thing that was very important. So yeah, I don't have OCD that I know of, but I do have like this autistic kind of obsession about a certain thing. And thank God for me, it's usually not bad stuff that I obsess about. Right now I'm obsessing about autism and ADHD, which I think is a trend throughout my videos at the moment. Or at the moment, it's been like at least 6 months that I've been obsessing about this. I also obsess about fandoms and such earlier in my life. And I've obsessed about MBTI all this time, so that's why I keep making videos about MBTI. There have been times where my special interest have been a person, and that's kind of dangerous because that means that I get really, really invested in knowing everything about the person, and you know, that's not always a great relationship. You know, and that's kind of what looks like having a favorite person, like a person with borderline personality disorder, because you feel like all your thoughts are about a certain person, but that's because you've just happened to choose, like your brain happened to choose a person to latch onto rather than a subject matter. So right now I'm obsessed with watching Chris Fleming videos, and I have like his songs in my head all the time, and so I always have these songs in my head that really annoy me at times, but it's not like actively hurting my life. The only thing is that now I don't have the internet to distract me, so I have to find my own distractions, and it's harder for me to focus on things to distract myself from, you know, bad stuff. So I found this crochet, so the making a granny square kind of makes me stop obsessing about things, or sometimes it can help me to like obsess about the thing for a certain period of time, and then like once I'm done with the granny square, then it's like, okay, I'm done obsessing. I've thought about it enough, you know? And I found that pretty good, but it makes me a difficult person to be around, you know? Me having these obsessions, I keep thinking about the same thing all the time, and I can understand that it is annoying to people around me, and it affects people around me. Because it's like, well, who has the patience to listen to me blab about something that isn't interesting to them, you know? But I can't really help that. It's a way that makes me happy, you know? But sometimes I have obsessions of things that are negative thoughts, rather. And that can lead to, you know, thoughts of suicidal ideation, that kind of thing. And it's not like I ever do anything about them, but it does take up a lot of my brain space. And that makes a lot of people think that I'm selfish because I'm always thinking about myself. And it's because, yes, it does take a lot of my brain space when I keep ruminating the same things over and over again about my life. It is pretty self-centered, but I try to detach from that, but it's not always easy. And something that's simple is maybe something that I have ruminated about for ages and ages and ages. And like people are like, why do you feel so strongly about this thing, you know? And it's because, you know, the amount of energy and time and brain space that this has taken is humongous. So at the moment, I'm like obsessed about the fact that I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh, I don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have Wi-Fi. And yeah, it sucks because I don't want to be addicted to Wi-Fi. but it kind of feels that way right now. And, you know, I want to be able to be that person who isn't so self-centered, who, like, asks people about their life and doesn't immediately start thinking about their own life whenever they're talking to somebody. But I guess that it's difficult. You know, I try, but sometimes it's like, I'm supposed to say, like, how are you, you know, or what are you going to do this weekend? And I tune out. I tune out to people saying, oh, I'm going to be doing this weekend. Unless it's interesting to me, you know. There's a colleague of mine who's going to be going to some kind of like car racing competition, and her whole family is into car racing, and she met her husband because of car racing. And I just, not my thing, you know. So I try to feign interest, you know, and laugh at the right times and nod at the right times, but like, you've lost me, you know, I'm gone. And I know that it's hypocritical because I'm expecting everybody else to listen to my crap. That is what has lost me my friendship with my INFJ friend, because I was self-centered, and yes, I am, and I'm so sorry about that. I really don't know how to change that part about myself. I wish I had listened more, because it came out of nowhere that my INFJ friend did not thought that I was basically not supporting him at all. I did not see that coming. To be honest, I felt like I was doing my best at being supportive, but apparently I was missing something. And that made me feel like I was a terrible person for ages. And I had an obsession about him, and I had an obsession about being a bad person. And that really put me through a loop. And it's been almost a year now. It's been almost a year that we haven't talked. And yeah, part of it is because I am intense, I am obsessive, and I don't, it wasn't meant for him to become the therapist friend. He took that role upon himself. You know, so there I'm not to blame, but I am to blame about, you know, talking about the things that interest me way too much, and being so self-absorbed in my own problems. But I do think that I was doing a good job. I don't think I was, you know, I've thought about this, ruminated this for almost a year, at least 6 months, like daily. And the rumination is terrible. It's terrible. And I've gone through it all, and I realized that, yes, okay, so I am to blame for that. But I'm not without a heart. I am empathetic. Despite the fact that I am so self-centered, I am empathetic, and I do care. It's just that my attention span and focus is different than a regular person. And yeah, I am so sorry, INFJ friend. I think that we could have done great things together, to be honest. And I will always regret that it ended up so badly. But it's not all my fault. It isn't. I think I've also been feeling quite a lot about this, because Aurora, my favorite artist, except for Florence and the Machine, I mean, I like both of them the same. Aurora released a new album, and that was the last concert I saw with my INFJ friend was Aurora. And yeah, it was because of a concert. It was a Florence and the Machine concert that kind of led to our breakup, you could say. So I don't blame him for all the rumination and everything that I've gone through, and I don't blame him for, you know, thinking that I'm self-centered and such. But I do think that he could have looked at things a little bit more holistically. Because I was on my way to getting better, and we stopped seeing each other right when I was at the edge of something clicking and getting better, you know. So it's a pity that you didn't get to see me get better. Anyway, I am ruminating very much still about him, but it is much more manageable. It's just that right now, since I don't have Wi-Fi, these are things that I have contemplating writing to my ex pretty much. When that won't resolve anything, because we're different people now, you know, than when we knew each other a year ago. Reconnecting would not make things better. Anyway, so when it comes to obsessions, I get it. I do get pretty excitable about certain things, and so, you know, I could make videos upon videos about, well, I am making videos upon videos about my life. My channel is an exercise in self-centeredness, I guess, but I make these videos for myself, as a kind of video diary, a vlog, but also because I want other people to find these videos and to feel less alone, you know, and to be able to share experiences. I don't think that it's because of just pure egotistical purposes, because in no way I think I'm the best or I'm better than anybody else, or that only I matter as opposed to anybody else. But yeah, this channel is a testimony to how much I think about myself all the time. I think about personality, and I think about my own personality a lot. But I also think about other things, like right now I'm thinking about crochet, and sometimes I think about other things. There we go, there we've got a square. I think that we're going to end this video now before I start getting into some other obsessions that I've had. I do have an obsession. I've had many obsessions throughout my life. I've had an obsession about Harry Potter, and always thinking about Harry Potter in the back of my mind all the time. And Sherlock, I got back into reading Sherlock fanfiction, and I cried, and then I started getting into my obsession about my INFJ friend, and then yeah, that didn't evolve very well, because yeah, the Sherlock fandom, the dynamics kind of remind me of certain dynamics that I had with my friends, so that wasn't very useful use of my emotions, you could say. But yeah, I have had an obsession with Wizard Rock, which was basically Harry Potter music, found music. But that was in high school, and now I still remember the sounds of Wizard Rock. I don't really listen to it anymore. But yeah, I should have mentioned I have been without my antidepressant medication for about 4 days now. So I have not been doing too well, let's just say. I don't know why I'm putting myself through this, but the fact that stopping my medication gave me a ton of side effects made me realize that, I don't think that maybe this medication is doing much good for me anymore. So I'm feeling very dizzy. I'm feeling like my blood pressure falls every time I stand up. I feel headaches. I feel trouble sleeping. I feel irritable. I feel restless in my body. And I feel a little bit nausea. So that's not great. That's not great when I don't have anything to distract me. I will go to Stockholm this weekend and try to make my brain think about other things. And so I hope that that works, that I can be there and just take in the crowds, the town, the city, the stimulation, and get away from this little town. But so yeah, I don't know where this video is going, but I guess that it was about obsessions. I hope that if you have like bad obsessions, like bad, what I mean by bad is like things that you can't really talk about on the internet. I've been obsessed with certain things like suicidal ideation, that kind of thing. Thank God my videos aren't monetized, so it doesn't matter what I say here, but there are many things that you can be obsessed about. There are people with porn addictions, and that is a problem, you know, but it's also a problem for the person themselves, you know, and a lot of the times they don't want to, you know, they don't want to think about that kind of thing. And there are worse kinds of obsessions that, you know, are very difficult to talk about because they're, you know, if enacted on, actively terrible and dangerous. I've met many people with OCD throughout time, and there's been people with pedophilia, people who have cut their fingers off because they had an obsession about the length of their fingers, all sorts of terrible, terrible stuff. So I don't want to make light of OCD and the problems of that. What I'm talking about is obsessions that are more like within the special interest realm of autism, which aren't the same as the obsessions that come they're usually against the moral code of the person with OCD. Usually they're aware that it's unfounded, but they have to think about it and do things about it anyway, and can come into magical thinking and all that. But there is there's a link between those kinds of obsessions and the autistic kind of obsessions, like, you know, the not stepping on cracks on the sidewalk kind of obsession, or compulsion or whatever. It feels better to do things in a certain way because otherwise the thoughts are bad in a way. You know, that's kind of the gist. So yeah, I would end the video now. So have a great day. Bye.